Over the past several decades, the hip thing to do has been to paint Batman and Joker as two sides of the same coin. This foolish, incorrect thinking has led to the utter destruction of both characters. A destruction cheered on loudly by mini-brains and selfish comic book fanboys who aren't content with classic tales of good versus evil. They have altered Batman and Joker so much that they no longer resemble their original forms and are now impossible for kids, the true target audience, to enjoy. I am sure I will get a lot of hate for this video, as Batman is looked at by most comic snobs and elitists as sacred text. These comic book know-nothings have built a sort of pseudo-religion around this fictional children's character, and have perverted him and what he represents into some Looney Tune that fulfills their weird, dark fantasies. When I started this channel, I never thought I'd turn my attentions to tearing down a religion, but life is full of surprises. The major tenets of this pseudo-religion that has sprung up is that 1. Batman is crazy. 2. Joker is insane. And 3. They need each other to survive, as they are two sides of the same coin. I am here to tell you that all of these are wrong. Yes, even number 2. Joker is not insane. Let's get started. The first thing these people say is that Batman is crazy, but that he reins in his crazy and throws it into his battle for justice. First of all, that's not how crazy works. You can't control it. If you can, it's not craziness. Crazy is chaotic and irrational, the exact opposite of Batman. They also claim that Batman is still in grief over his parents' death, and now has a single-minded obsession with fighting crime. And he must be crazy to dress like a bat and run around fighting crime without superpowers. Well, some of that is true. Of course Batman still mourns the loss of his parents, and of course he is very involved in the fight against crime. But he isn't obsessed. Obsession consumes you. Batman is not consumed. He still has time for other things in his life, like his family and friends. That's one thing the Comic Book Hivemind always says too, that Batman's the ultimate loner and always pushes away those close to him. Wrong. To believe this, you must have very little knowledge of the character, or just as much reading comprehension skills as the average comic book YouTuber. How could Batman be a loner if he has his whole Batman family? Multiple Robins, Batgirl, Batwoman, Alfred, Ace the Bat-Hound, Batmite, and Commissioner Gordon, plus the Justice League / Justice Society / Super Friends, plus his monthly team-ups with Superman and World's Finest, plus his team The Outsiders. He's pretty social for an antisocial loner, so let's put that foolish argument to rest once and for all. But continuing with his obsession, he wouldn't be able to foster all of these relationships if he was as obsessed as people say. Crime fighting is not the alpha and omega of his existence. It's not all he thinks about. He's a very well-rounded individual, with the mastery of martial arts, various sciences, criminology, engineering, and finance. An ill-adjusted sociopath could not accomplish all of this. So there goes that argument too. And now to the, he's crazy to run around in a bat suit. I'll let John Byrne handle this one. When confronted with this logic, Byrne responds by saying, you would be crazy to dress up and fight crime. He, Byrne himself, would be crazy to dress up and fight crime. But Batman isn't, because that's the rational thing to do in the world he lives in. And that just makes sense. How many other costumed heroes are there in DC Comics? Hundreds. How many of them don't have powers? Quite a few. Let's go through some of them, shall we? Just the ones off the top of my head. Hawkman and Hawkgirl don't have powers. They just have their anti-gravity belts and steering wings. Wildcat doesn't have powers. He just punches people until they fall down. Robin, Batgirl, Green Arrow, the original Airwave, and Blue Beetle don't have powers either, but they dress up and fight crime. Are these people insane too? No! In the comic book world, when injustice strikes, people put on outfits and hit bad guys. That's just the world you buy into when you open up a comic book. If this is too much of a leap in logic for you, that's fine. You've outgrown the medium and need to find a new hobby. In comic books, people dress up to fight crime. If you want stories of someone who stops crime without an outfit, watch Charles Bronson's excellent Death Wish film franchise. It could be exactly what you're looking for. But superheroes wear costumes. It doesn't make them crazy. It makes them superheroes. Batman is perhaps the sanest man in the world. He dedicated his life to fight crime, taking the time to build his body and mind to the peak of human perfection. Then he outfitted himself with a costume that would scare evildoers and set out to save his city from the plague of criminals. It's very simple to understand. I think that pretty well does away with the Batman is crazy argument. So let's move on to religious tentpole number 2. Joker is insane. Again, I will turn to John Byrne. He has explained that Joker is not insane. People and writers say this because they are fools who don't understand the definition of words. Insanity is not a medical term. It's a legal one. It means, at the time of the crime, you were not in your right mind. You didn't know what you were doing and should not be held responsible for your actions. This does not describe Joker. Joker is evil. He acts very loony, but we as readers are never sure if he is really crazy or if he just acts that way. It doesn't need to be spelled out for us, nor does his origin, because that doesn't matter. All that matters is that Joker is a homicidal criminal with a penchant for the bizarre and comical. He is fully aware of what he is doing and relishes in the crime and violence he inflicts on others. This is not insanity. Lunacy, maybe, but certainly not insanity. He knows what he's doing and has no remorse. And how much difficulty would Batman, the world's greatest detective, have fighting an insane man? Give the guy a bit of credit, people. So religious tentpole number 2 falls as easily as the first. And now for religious tenet number 3. Batman and Joker need each other to survive, as they are two sides of the same coin. What does that even mean? Okay, let's take this apart piece by piece. By two sides of the same coin, these plankton chips mean that both Batman and Joker are crazy, but one represents order, the other chaos. I've already debunked them being crazy, so this has already fallen apart. There is no yin and yang between the two, no deeper connection. Batman doesn't connect with Joker any more than he does with any of his other villains. He is good, they're bad, that's the extent of their relationship. And what's up with people thinking they can't survive without the other? This makes the least sense to me. Joker isn't obsessed with the Batman. If he was, why would he fight other heroes like Superman? And Batman has much bigger fish to fry than fostering a weird bromance with a criminal. If Batman died, Joker would continue being Joker, and if Joker died, Batman would continue fighting Penguin, Clayface, Catwoman, Scarecrow, Riddler, Two-Face, etc., etc., etc. There's nothing more to talk about. Just because someone like Alan Moore or Frank Miller wrote something, that doesn't automatically make it canon. Does anyone remember the early canon story when Batman had an insane older brother? Or when the Penguin's name wasn't Cobblepot, but was Boniface? No? Of course not, because it didn't work. So you just let it go as a story and move on. Not everything needs to be canon. Some things are just meant to be looked at as a story and left at that. In conclusion, Batman isn't crazy, Joker's not insane, and there is no cosmic tie between them. They are enemies because one is a good guy and the other is a bad guy, and that's all there is to it. Thinking otherwise has ruined these characters, taking them out of the hands of children and into the hairy, sweaty, perverted hands of adults who should have grown out of them long ago. So please, if someone you know is suffering from this religious delusion, please send them this video. Hopefully, we can get them back on the straight and narrow and help reclaim one of the greatest heroes in all of comicdom. I thank you very much for listening. Until the next video.